Now, let's get over here to some local news. This is about Operation Dudula. They are in court. They are being challenged by a number of NGOs. And I think the case is against Dudula and the SAPS and Home Affairs. The case being made here is that there's now state-sanctioned xenophobia. And South Africa has an agreement to protect people of other nations and respect their presence here in the same way that South Africans are promised protection as they travel worldwide. The world has some kind of order, and there's been some agreements because we know we are different and we are intolerant of each other. There are some who have seen that long ahead, and they say Dudula is going against a constitution that, is it the constitution that is also protecting the lives of people who come here? I think there's protection for people in general, and no people are treated like animals. So let's hear what that is about.
Dudula, Zandile Dabula joins us for reactions. Zandile, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. So many questions, but I think, talk to me about, I suppose, the feeling as the president at the moment, and certainly within Operation Dudula, as you see this trial play out. I mean, is it a big concern for you, the future for Operation Dudula?
Hi, Naledi, good evening, and good evening to the viewers at home. I must say that there's mixed feelings, but we're very confident that we cannot be ruled by foreign nationals, especially illegal migrants in this country. We've been following the case for the past 2 days, and I must say that I became more confident when the two representatives, one from SAPS and one from the Home Affairs, when they've stated very clear that there's no bond that we have with them, but rather in every time when we go do operations, because we are an organization that wants to do things within the confines of the law. So every time when we do our operations, we go and apply for the likes of Section 205 and make sure that we do have police visibility within our operations. I think that's what the applicant doesn't understand, is that we do apply because we respect the laws of this country. So we do go and apply. That's why they'll see police visibility in our operations. But I must say that we cannot be silenced. I said this, and I know it became another threat today when we started at court, that I had tweeted that we will not be silenced. I mean, the voices of citizens cannot be silenced because of people feeling that we are harassing them. I mean, these people came here to this country unlawfully so, and we cannot allow people to be lawless in this country. We've been advocating for non-lawlessness in this country, and we're not going to stop. So I'm not afraid, and I know that we will continue being the mouthpiece of South Africans, and we will just wait for the judgment, because the judgment was reserved. And until then, and I'm hoping that the judge will think twice and, be patriotic when they have to make this decision, because there is nothing wrong that we have done. All we are saying is that we want people to come into this country lawfully, and they must abide by the laws of this country. That's all that we are saying.
Yeah, I think we're obviously going to analyze what an operation of Operation Dudula actually looks like, and even that Section 205 that you've talked about. But with this, with the sitting in the Johannesburg High Court, you've got Kopanong, Africa Against Xenophobia, Abahlali Basemjondolo, Inner City Federation, SA Informal Traders Forum, all under the umbrella of SERI, coming forward to argue the case against Operation Dudula, the argument being that you are harassing foreign nationals. But in the matter, in the High Court, Operation Dudula in and of itself, not partaking. So can you talk to me about why you're seeing that? I believe that your Treasurer General, Solomon Kekana, has said that that you, as Operation Dudula, knew nothing about the case that, some of these organizations are saying has been in...
Yeah, so apparently Operation Dudula did not respond when the court wrote to them. I remember I made the same mistake when I was taken on an urgent application to the High Court to have me stop talking about my landlord and things that were happening in the building. And so I was like, I know for a fact that I'm in the right. I know for a fact that these people are wrong, and the judge will need me or have to wait for me or understand. And at the time, the landlord had switched off my electricity. So I thought I can text or tell the judge at some point that, listen, I couldn't show up. These people were pretty much coming to you, asking for relief while they had pinched me on this side, denied me electricity. But I found out that, you have to show up. Some sheriff showed up and said, you better come here. And I called legal representative, well, not legal representative, somebody who was able to help me. And they said, yo, you need to go to court, yo. In fact, you needed to have responded to say that you will respond, you will have a defense. And so I did none of that. On another day, I showed up and I had written nothing. And it had to be a bit tense because the court was full. There were other matters being discussed that day, and advocates are there. And I'm not dressed looking the part. I'm not dressed looking like I'm seeking mercy or anything like that. I'm just dressed as how I would be here. And then I have to now stand there, get called up a little bit, unprocedural, and have to give a slight explanation to the judge about why he should not rule in my absence or just give an automatic judgment to them. And I said, yo, but I've had no electricity whatsoever. And he says, you have to bring a response tomorrow. And I said, but yo, man, maybe next week. And he says, this is an urgent application. I have to attend to this very quickly and rule on it. And so I'm giving you up until tomorrow. And so fortunately, there was an advocate in there who realized my bravery and had a sense of justice and felt that there was something wrong being done here. And so he called me aside and said, yo, you can come to my chambers. You say you've got no electricity? Okay, you've got a computer. Can you come, bring your computer there, bring the evidence that you have, and I'll help you prepare it. So the judge gave us the following day to prepare and then the next day to show up. So the following day, I would wake up, go to the dude's chambers, worked my bra from morning until night to prepare some kind of defense. But the judge would just pick what he picks and throw out everything that I had brought before him, stating that some of the evidence that I use in my defense showing that the landlord is in the wrong. He said those complaints, so I brought a list of complaints from other people, residents across the country complaining about the same country, and some actually complaining about the exact issue that I had. And that evidence was kicked out because it didn't have ID numbers and signatures of the people. I had pulled that online and they said it's not credible. So they said, yo, you need to keep quiet and stop saying what you're saying about the landlord. And so Dudula seems to have not shown up, and so they relied on the defense of the Home Affairs and the SAPS because these organizations brought these three together before court, with Dudula being the main one. And these two, I think, being respondents. That's how you're listed when you're brought as a group. So Dudula says they didn't know about this, but the Department of Home Affairs and the SAPS showed up with representations, and their defense is that, no, we are not involved with them. I think that is the defense, and she is relying on that instead of relying on Dudula's own defense. So let's hear more about that.
In the works for 2 years, nothing kind of taking. So can you talk to me about why you're seeing that? I believe that your Treasurer General, Solomon Kekana, has said that that you, as Operation Dudula, knew nothing about the case that, you know, some of these organizations are saying has been in the works for 2 years. So how is it that you're at a point where you did not know that this was coming and as a result are not able to partake in a high court process that is about your very operation?
So firstly, we are a legal entity and we have communication desk. We have email addresses of an organization. You can't be relying on someone's personal email address when wanting to serve them. Yes, we had received the first one, but we knew nothing about the sitting. I mean, when we first saw this, we saw it on social media platform when someone was asking that, I see that you guys are appearing in court on Tuesday. And that's when we started digging deeper that what's happening, what's the whole case about and all that, and only to find out that it's this one of the series. But, you know, these things, we do understand this in this instances. Sometimes there will be some sort of sabotage and all that, but I don't want to put it like that for now, because I don't understand why is it that they couldn't try to get hold of us.
Yo, the emails. She's saying we have a communication email, but we never got any email there. Yo, let me tell you, when I got brought for this, the law firm that was hired pretty much went and got every email that was available. I was surprised to see them have every email that exists from me. And so they sent emails to every email box. You dig? So what she's saying just does not make sense. And would she say that if they had more of an opportunity, they'd still bring the defense? But it's too late.
I mean, they've got our contacts. If they saw that we're not responding, they should have contacted us. They should have used an organization email rather of a personal email of somebody within the organization. But that's a story for another day. We were not represented
These were my excuses in front of the judge. I lost. Dudula is going to lose, bruh.
in court, and that's the unfortunate part of it.
But I mean, surely this is a concern that you're unable, and perhaps this is something that you want to tackle now. Is there a sense that Operation Dudula is running out of platforms to be able to speak as a result of what some are calling perhaps a divisive narrative by the organization?
So that's the same reason why Solomon, because Solomon is also one of the founding members, went to court to go and plead with the judge to say that we knew nothing about this. I mean, even on social media platforms, nothing was said about this case. Only in the past, I think, 2 days, just before the sitting, then that's only when it started gaining traction that we are appearing in court. And I will not blame ourselves as Operation Dudula, but I would blame your likes of series, the applicants especially. But there's no time for blaming game now. We must just wait for the judgment and see how best do we remedy the situation after the judgment, because I don't know how is the judge going to judge us as Operation Dudula because we were not represented, but the case rather.
Yeah, you see, my thoughts exactly. If I'm not there, then the judge doesn't have enough to go on. And so my appeal later will be that I was not there, I never got the email. Yo, let me tell you, you get emails from the organization and its attorneys, lawyers, whatever, legal representatives, and you get emails from the judiciary. So there's emails that come in now, judiciary, and you have to log in there. Have to create a password. Once those emails hit you, once you've been served with documents, you have to familiarize yourself with logging into the judiciary portal. It looks something like e-filing, going through there and reading the documents brought to you. And those documents would normally be also delivered to your address. If you are absent, this is what they do. They then tell the sheriff or the fixer, whoever they send, to stick them on your door and solo tape them there. You understand? Solo tape them, like put those documents in a plastic sleeve and like seriously solo tape them there. And then step off and take a picture to show that the documents are in front of your door and you cannot miss them. So even if you lock yourself in the home and you don't get served personally, by those documents being put so thoroughly on your door, it means that you will receive them at some point. You won't leave them there for your neighbors to pass by and see, and so you'll tear them down. And so now the court has officially called you. You've been subpoenaed. Come through.
It is all about us as Operation Dudula. So we needed to be given that opportunity to respond. Whether, yes, we were late or whatsoever, but we needed to be given that opportunity.
Okay, let's look at some of the arguments that are being put on the table, though, by the applicants. Seri putting forward yesterday in the court that Operation Dudula's conduct is unlawful, saying that Operation Dudula incites violence and hatred. What do you say to that?
So, you know, for the past 5 years, we have been labeled as a vigilante group, especially by the president of this country. And it doesn't shake us that there's another group of people that are saying that we're doing things outside the confines of the law because they are at the wrong side of the law. I mean, what we're fighting for here is genuine. We are saying that people must come to this country, they must be documented. If you're coming here to this country to do business, you must have your documents, you must have your business visa, and you must invest a minimum of 5 million. And it must be a scarce skill. It doesn't just end with you just having a passport. I mean, one of the applicants is, I think, inner city informal traders. That's supposed to be that space is supposed to be reserved for South Africans. And we unapologetically still going to continue because the space is supposed to be for locals.
Yeah.
I mean, informal traders is supposed to be for locals. And we always have law enforcers.
So her defense is, if they're in the wrong, I can be in the wrong. Two wrongs make a right.
With us. And at times when you get to places, we do ask them whether you documented or not. If they're saying they do have documents, we do hand them over to the law enforcers to say that you need to verify them because, yes, we know that we are not allowed to be checking people's documents and all that.
But you are you are approaching foreign nationals as Operation Dudula members and asking for documents, because the argument that's being put forward here is that is work that is to be done by authorities, by police and immigration officers, that it is not your purview to walk up to anyone and ask them to show you any identity document.
But that's the picture that I'm trying to paint here, is that we go together with the law enforcers because they are part of that specific operation because we had applied lawfully so. And when we approach them, yes, we will ask you whether you documented or not. And if they want to produce documents, it's now the right of the official to check those documents and not us as Operation Dudula members. And that's basically what we have been doing. Yes, we do ask them. I will not shy away from that, because when we approach foreigners, they need to tell us whether they're documented or not. And if they are documented, then they need to give the officials their documents.
But the view is that very act is unlawful, Zandile. That's the argument here, is that you may be accompanied by authorities, and that perhaps may be as a way of ensuring...
Hey, yo, can a group of black people fetch a police van and go up to white people at the beach in Cape Town and say, show me ID? Is there like something in the law, an application that you can make to just pull a police officer and go to random people? Let's say you've got people at a wedding. They're tourists. They've selected South Africa to be the destination where their wedding will be held. You can go up to them and say, show me ID at this wedding, at this private function. How far can this go? Where does Dudula point this? Only to the black African people? When are they visiting some Greek and Czech Republic mafias out in Bedford View over there and in Sandton?
Showing that there is no incitement of violence. Perhaps you can talk to me about how it is that you come to that agreement. But for a citizen to approach another individual and ask for their identity, the argument being put on the table is that that is unlawful.
Naledi, let me say this.
Yeah.
You can't walk into a room full of foreign nationals and just keep quiet.
Amen.
It's up to us as
Yeah, so you can get to a wedding, walk in, find a hall full of them. And in that regard now, you just have to ask them. That's her defense. And this is the defense I guess they would have written on paper and given to the judge. And so the judge would have had something, a defense from them to rubbish, and they'd have nothing to fall back on. So they want to make this defense in the court of public opinion, because the court of law doesn't take reasons like these.
Patriots to play our part. I mean, there's also citizen's arrest. I know that it's unlawful for us to be asking for documents, but we have no option because we don't have enforcers that are doing that. That's why we are forcing them to do it. We are with them, then they should do it at that time. That's why we are with them, because we can't do it at that specific time. We don't have the right to do it, but because you as a law enforcer, you are there to just monitor the situation. Why don't you just do it? Because that's also part of your job.
But you are admitting that it is unlawful.
Yes, it is unlawful because we are not officials. We are not immigration officers, but as citizens, concerned citizens of this country.
If she had written that in the defense and they handed it to a judge, the judge would respond with a judgment saying, I quote you here saying that this is illegal and unlawful. And so I cannot grant you permission to go back and commit something that in your words you know is wrong. And so, what's going to happen to Dudula, bruh? Like, courts are powerful, okay? And this whole thing of forming an organization, having a logo, and moving in an orderly fashion, it looks enticing and professional, and you have to do it. When people organize themselves, a state fears and constantly monitors formations. And formations and groupings need to be registered in order to open bank accounts and manage their own affairs together. So living in a legal system, an organized system like this, as soon as you register yourself, registered organizations have certain rules over them. So you're pretty much bringing yourself towards the law, saying I'm registering this organization, and the law of organizations said that organizations have a law and they cannot do certain things. So you organize yourself wanting to have a bank account and to decide who is leader and what so forth for your own benefit. Then it becomes the benefit of the courts to be able to just bring you with that registration number, your name, its leaders that you've elected, the first, the second, the third, bring them here. Let's get responses from them.
Immigration situation. Why don't you just do it? Because that's also part of your job.
But you are admitting that it is unlawful.
Yes, it is unlawful because we are not officials. We are not immigration officers, but as citizens, concerned citizens of this country, we can apply citizen's arrest. And if there is a belief that there is a criminal activity happening in that place, of which in this instance, if you are a migrant, undocumented migrant, then you are a criminal.
But hold up, if there's something apparently illegal happening, clearly so, then a citizen's arrest, a community can pursue a person and tie them up. And of course, a citizen arrest is not one you can prosecute, so you have to hand the person over to the police, etc. So now, when you approach people that you suspect to be illegal, nothing about them clearly labels them as such. It means that you are firstly investigating and you are randomly querying them. So you're disturbing their free movement in order to find out if they are illegal. They are not prima facie, on the face of it, engaged in anything illegal, or their status does not show them to be illegal. You have to inquire them first, and the law stops you kind of there. It says, that's not your business. And her defense is that when you see people doing something illegal, you approach them and you can arrest them. But in this case, are you approaching them because there's 100% something illegal that you've seen? And did you call the police first to report that illegality? When the police arrive, do they immediately see cause to put their hands on their situation, or do you bring them in to say, let's go find some cause? Let's go investigate some people inside a wedding hall there, the Guptas. And then you show up and say, yo, all of y'all, show me some ID. Pull it out from your purses. Bride, groom, pull it out from under your dress there.
Then we can hand you over to the police officials. We can hand you over.
You said you cannot walk into a room full of foreign nationals and say nothing. I mean, these are the words that just came out of your mouth.
Yes.
And you've got an organization, Kopanong Africa Against Xenophobia. And I have to say this. Just that very sentence, do you recognize that that may sound xenophobic?
So I must say this. Maybe these people have not seen what xenophobia is. I mean, there were xenophobic attacks in the past years here in South Africa, but ever since there was Operation Dudula, nothing of that sort has happened.
And it's said that Operation Dudula is organized xenophobia. It's people who went out onto the streets themselves at first and then decided to get a logo and a color scheme, a theme, print some t-shirts, elect a leader, secretary, treasurer, etc. And then now, having done that, they are saying everything that they are doing is by the book. Is it really by the book? And is it organized xenophobia now?
We always try to make sure that there are no attacks. That's why even when we do our own operations, we tell people not to loot. If, for instance, if we're doing the spaza shop operations, not to loot, but rather make them pack their stuff and leave. We don't go out and beat people up because obviously the law enforcers are there. And there's no xenophobic attacks here. I mean, only now when, if they are being granted this order, maybe there will be these attacks. But currently, for the past 5 years, since the inception of Operation Dudula, there haven't been attacks. We are being blamed that the guy from Deep Sloot had died just after our visit at Deep Sloot. How do you blame us for that? How many places have we visited and nobody was burned to death? Yeah. Why are we now being pinned just to this specific guy in Deep Sloot? So we can tell that there's some biasness, and these people are obviously foreign nationals. They don't want Operation Dudula because it's fighting the illegality that they are doing as non-South Africans. They will definitely fight, and they will come with every corners to make sure that we are being pinned down and that Operation Dudula doors are closed. Okay, and we will not allow that.
I asked you about whether or not you consider the work of Dudula xenophobic, and you talked about attacks. And I think what I want to do is actually go to the textbook definition of xenophobia, which is not necessarily speaking about acts of violence, but says a dislike or prejudice against people from other countries. We don't have to keep going with that. I need to start looking at what an operation looks like on a daily basis, or when you do have an operation, particularly outside basic services that are incredibly important, like a health facility or schooling. Because one of the issues that's been put forward by the applicants is that you are also making it difficult for foreign nationals to access basic services.
Naledi, now who pays for these services? Because foreigners do not pay for these services. They use our own health facilities, they don't pay for it. Their kids go to schools, our schools, when our own kids, South African kids, cannot access those schools. They don't pay for it. I mean, who should suffer? Our system is...
Are the kids of foreigners going to study isiZulu and Sepedi and Xhosa and Tsonga schools? Is that what's happening? And at the hospitals, I go to a public hospital, I collect Ritalin. In fact, it's right here. So I've got a few stockpiles of some stuff here that I take for my concentration. So I haven't taken these, Got a stock over here. I, as a South African, pay 100 Rand for every visit. And I think if you are elderly or unemployed as a South African, you declare that as you first open your file. So I declared in a way that, am I unemployed? Yes. So even if you're unemployed, you get to you have to pay. And I think that foreigners and those who are working, because my wife, at that time when we went, she had a job, but she failed to just do a consultation because she saw that the case that we were going for, psychology, there was a pretty good dude there from Wits who was giving some pretty nice advice and helping us through our early time in our marriage. So wife signed up as somebody who's employed, and so she had to pay slightly more every time she went there. I think that's $170. So there's tiers here. There's tiers for the employed South African and the unemployed South African, and there's a tier for foreigners. If you've ever seen the cost of giving birth at a public hospital as a foreigner, the amount that you have to pay there, I think it's in the thousands. And I think South Africans do it absolutely for free. But I think that foreign nationals have to pay like 2,000. And I think that was 10 years ago when I first found this out. My wife was giving birth and I had gone to Tembisa Hospital where she was giving birth to her son 10 years ago. And I could see there that, hey, it seemed like here they're saying before you get discharged, you have to pay quite a fee. And I was shocked, wondering, so what do they do when you've come in and they've told you that you're going to have to pay? And do they hold you? Do you now have to pay before you're discharged? Yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know what Zandile is saying.
Suffocating because of them. I mean, there's nothing to do with, this has got nothing to do with hatred. We've always said this, that we don't hate them, but we just hate how they conduct themselves here in this country. I mean, we've always had, we have crime in South Africa, but the crimes that we are experiencing now shows that this is some sort of crime that we haven't had here in this country. I'll tell you about the human trafficking, the drug peddling that's happening here in this country, how our kids are dying of snacks. We had Abu Mama Badala that used to sell snacks to our kids. We grew up eating those snacks. We didn't die. Why are we dying now when there's illegal migrants, the influx of foreign nationals in our country?
Okay.
And we will not stop. That's
those are sweeping statements. And I mean, it's very difficult to have a conversation when you generalize. But I need to wrap this up, Zandile. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. And we're going to get some analysis on this discussion as well. But what's the future then holding for Operation Dudula in the court being argued? The argument in the court is stop some of your activities. Are you intending on doing that? In 30 seconds.
You know what, my lady? I wish we could just get enough time. You know, these 5-10 minutes doesn't give us enough time to express ourselves when it comes to these issues, because the death of kids, no one is talking about it. No one has went to court and spoke about how our children are dying. But rather than that, the future of Operation Dudula is that Operation Dudula will not close its doors. Operation Dudula will not stop it being the mouthpiece of citizens of this country who are disgruntled, who are being pushed to a corner, right at the edge of their corner in their own country. When our own people are unemployed, they can't have proper health facilities, because it's evident. We've been seeing how foreigners are taking these medications. They visit more than 5 hospitals and they take these medications and go and sell them to in their own countries.
Okay.
Why are we turning a blind eye and make it seem as if Operation Dudula is just hating foreigners when we see these things on social media platforms, even on the news, the media mainstream? We see them on the daily basis when we get stats. How many Zimbabweans have been killing people? How many foreign nationals have been stealing cars and all that? So we can't just turn a blind eye and make Operation Dudula look like an organization that just hates people. We don't hate them, but we want them to go back home, and we just hate how they conduct themselves in our country. And unfortunately, we will not stop until they are deported back home.
Yeah, of course, Zandile Dabula, there's the president of Operation Dudula, where there is a hearing.
Yeah, so that's Operation Dudula, right? And here is a short clip from ex-deport. So Moja Love and Operation Dudula are monetizing. They are making some money out of this. And I'd say, or they'd say, that this is for awareness. Let's check it out.
Hey! Why are you hiding? Huh? My name is Gudluza and I'm from a show called Ex-Deport. We have an immigration crisis in this country, ne?
I'm South African, I'm telling you, I'm South African.
Where are your documents?
I leave the passport at my home.
No, do we have to go outside?
Yeah, fine, I just want to do
Every official that you see here is a backup for this very same store to hear and protect the store instead of dealing with the crisis that we have, La Mzansi, illegal migrant. So I'm a criminals, I'm right in your face. These are criminals. It's fine. What are we doing? Baba, who are you?
The members, we mustn't be aligning ourselves with Mojalam arrest or Mojalam export. That's a mandate that we're given.
You see that? And I think I read an article as well that says that police in Gauteng have pulled out from giving not anything here, Sizoktola assistance as well to go and do these operations. Seems like Mojalaf has found an enterprise here, and maybe the owner and his show and his intellectual property playing too close or utilizing state resources too much for his benefit is something that can be said to be wrong. You understand? Like oligarchies, the rich who start controlling the government and then they do that to make money. I mean, can't you think of a hustle where you can use the police to muscle some people, then create a show or some way to monetize that situation? Well, usually maybe if you're going to bust people's balls, kick down their walls, and expect them to bribe you away or to pay you to leave them, that's how you can extort money out of them. But what if you can just use them, put their faces on TV and make some coin, buy a house, buy a car? Is that something that the state can persist in offering services to? But we leave that now.